Mario Golf Super Rush is a game that is emblematic of Nintendo's inability to deliver the most basic of features that fans have come to expect in their first-party titles. Really, at this point, I shouldn't be surprised when I purchase a first-party Nintendo game and wind up discovering that it lacks a key element that would take the experience from good to great. Nintendo increasingly is forming a negative reputation of poor execution, whether it's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's abysmal online service that lacks rollback netcode, Super Mario Party's complete lack of online play for the first 2 years of its lifespan, or their decision to release Super Mario 3D All-Stars without Super Mario Galaxy 2 or any additional content past the music player. While they skate by on the goodwill of their major titles like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey, there's no denying that Nintendo makes some baffling decisions in situations that seem simple, and Mario Golf Super Rush is the latest example of how disappointing those decisions can be. On the surface, Super Rush seems like a game packed with tons of content that impressively manages to innovate one of the most established series in the larger Mario Sports franchise. Not only does traditional golfing return, but there are fresh new modes such as Battle Golf and Golf Adventure. Brand new characters never playable before in the Mario Sports franchise like Charge and Chuck and King Bob-omb make their debut, and for the first time in Mario Golf history, there are boss battles to conquer and NPCs to interact with. However, once you delve beneath the surface, it becomes apparent that Mario Golf Super Rush lacks the depth and replayability that have made past Mario Sports titles so enjoyable. But before I jump into some of the elements that make the newest entry to the Mario Golf series a disappointment, I want to acknowledge some of the areas where Super Rush actually succeeds. First and foremost is the new take on Speed Golf, which shows a lot of potential for where future Mario Golf titles can go. It's simple to pick up, easy to control, and helps to mix up the gameplay in a refreshing way. This extends to Battle Golf as well, which is a fantastic and competitive mode that feels different from anything previously seen in the Mario Golf franchise. And Super Rush also looks great with a pleasant and relaxing soundtrack that fits the golf atmosphere perfectly. Unfortunately, that's about the extent of Super Rush's positive qualities, and even then I have a bone to pick with the execution of some of these new concepts. In fact, the main impetus for me to make this video was discovering that Speed and Battle Golf are unable to be played with 4 players on one console. As someone who grew up playing the N64 and GameCube, 2 consoles known for incredible local multiplayer experiences, this is one of Nintendo's most bizarre decisions in recent memory to me. It completely deflated me when I sat down with 2 friends and realized that one of us would have to sit out, despite the fact that it is clearly a 4-player mode. And while I know you can play online, I've come to not trust the quality of Nintendo's online services and would much rather play with friends in person anyway. Lack of local 4-player co-op aside, Speed and Battle Golf have other issues that leave a lot to be desired. In Battle Golf's case, having just 2 courses and a lack of customization options means the gameplay quickly becomes repetitive. There needed to be a variety of maps of varying sizes that would have different amounts of flags to capture to keep things fresh. Even just a small, medium, and large map could have provided enough options to keep things from rapidly getting stale. Alternatively, having random spawn points for the flags on the 2 current Battle Golf courses would have been a way to give the mode more replayability. As it stands now, each game feels nearly identical to one another, with no real way to change the experience up. Even something simple like changing the difficulty levels of the CPUs would have been a nice feature to help give the runs their own feel. These issues extend to Speed Golf as well, though not to the same degree. In Speed Golf, you have the luxury of being able to select how many holes you'd like to play, with the ability to select any set of 3 or more that you'd like. Thankfully, you also have full access to the game's courses, with a choice between starting tees, meaning a lot of variety between rounds. But this variety doesn't make up for the fact that Speed Golf is ultimately a shallow experience that lacks the tools necessary for a consistently dynamic experience. Not only does it not have hittable items like the Bob-ombs and bananas of Battle Golf, but the linear nature of the majority of the holes and subsequent focus on super dashing prevents Speed Golf from achieving greater heights. It's a shame too, because I think the super dashes are a novel idea, but executed poorly. Each dash sadly has the same effect, whether it's Yoshi crushing you atop his egg or Mario barreling you over with a star, where the person hit loses coins and gets stunned for a brief moment. It makes sense for Speed Golf to prioritize going fast, but I think I would have preferred some more traditional items that had a range of different effects. You could still have items that stun like a red shell or a lightning bolt, but the inclusion of some power-ups that affected the play of the opponents more directly would have been nice. Something like an item that affects what club you're able to use, or changes the features of your ball to be more bouncy or slick, would have been creative ways to throw your opponent off while you rush to sink your ball. Currently, it just feels like a race to the green where the true deciding factor winds up being your putting ability. It's a letdown because it feels like Nintendo is on the right path with a lot of the ideas found in Super Rush, they just lack critical components that stop the concepts from realizing their potential. Case in point is Golf Adventure, where the groundwork is laid for what could be a satisfying single-player experience, but ends up an empty, boring slog of a mode. One of the main reasons for this is the game's insistence on forcing you to do practice rounds for each new area you visit, which feels unnecessary and time-consuming. It's frustrating that there is no consideration for the veteran players of the series who know how to play, and even more frustrating that it persists all the way to the last course, despite no significant change in gameplay. It is one of the biggest negatives of Golf Adventure, as it means that you will be replaying the same holes over again for seemingly no good reason. And if you aren't wasting your time in senseless practice rounds, you'll find yourself wasting time watching computer players whiff putts during speed golf. Rather than valuing the flow of gameplay for the player, Nintendo, in one of their most asinine decisions yet, forces you to watch the computer players finish their rounds in speed golf even after you've already completed your hole. This sucks not only because the CPUs are slow and dumb, but also because over the course of 18 holes this adds up to be a monumental waste of time. In fact, I did the math for the first course, Bonnie Greens, and found that I spent over 11 minutes of real time watching Toad and Pink Yoshi finish up their rounds. To put that in context, I completed the entire 18-hole Lakitu Cup from Mario Golf Toadstool Tour in about 13 minutes with a score of -10. I was taking my time to line up my shots and putts, and I still almost finished faster than the amount of time I spent waiting for CPUs to golf in Super Rush. I'm fairly confident this would be a problem regardless of what content is in the game, but at least if Golf Adventure was exciting, I may be able to overlook the abundance of downtime I have between rounds. The problem is Golf Adventure fails to deliver anything interesting or memorable, as the story and challenges all wind up falling flat. In some ways, it would have been better if the mode was more basic, as my expectations would have certainly been different. Instead, the prospect of a fulfilling and engaging open-world golf adventure only amplified the shortcomings Super Rush has. A few examples that illustrate my disappointment are the NPCs and boss battles found in the mode. As enticed as I was by the prospect of golf boss battles, they wound up being incredibly basic and monotonous. To make matters worse, there are only 3 of them, and you don't get to take your first one on until over halfway through the adventure. Similarly, I had high hopes for the roles of the NPCs you can find around the different courses in Golf Adventure, but instead of hosting unique challenges that could grant new clubs or clothing items, most NPCs will just spout a few lines of dialogue before they are forgotten. Even though some of the quips these characters make can be quite funny, they are a letdown in the end because, much like the aforementioned boss battles, they could have been utilized so much better. This actually leads me into my biggest gripe with Golf Adventure, which is its lack of anything meaningful that separates the experience from just playing the game like normal. Yes, there is an experience system, but it's pretty much a non-factor because you gain so much experience from all the tutorials and practice rounds you're forced to play. You also have a shop where you can buy upgrades like clothing and special clubs, but it too feels like it has a very minor impact on your journey. And I've already addressed the lackluster boss fights and incredibly plain story that define Golf Adventure's wasted potential. Something I was hoping to see in Golf Adventure was the implementation of any of the numerous side games the Mario Golf series has featured in the past. Considering the game's propensity for hand-holding, it's bewildering that mini-golf was not included as a way to help players develop their putting skills. Not only could it have been a fun mode to play on its own, but it could have been a charming addition to the world Golf Adventure creates, with its own course complete with Mario-themed obstacles and gimmicks. Likewise, the NPCs could have hosted challenges like ring shot or club slots for a large amount of experience points, or another reward that would enhance your Mii's ability. Even a section where you must team up with a partner for doubles golf would have been an appealing way to mix up gameplay. Sadly, none of these engaging side games are in Golf Adventure, and worse yet, none of them are in Mario Golf Super Rush at all. It's maybe the aspect of Golf Adventure that bothers me the most, because it feels as though all these great modes were sacrificed, unnecessarily I might add, in favor of an extremely basic, extremely mediocre RPG adventure. This decision has butchered the replayability of Super Rush, as I have no incentive to ever play through Golf Adventure again, leaving me with just normal, speed, and battle golf to choose from. Truthfully, that's not enough content to justify a $60 game, and it makes me regret my purchase. But even in the event that more modes and courses are added, Mario Golf Super Rush still would lack some of the fundamental elements that give the Mario sports titles their polish and make them rewarding to play. The absence of unlockable characters immediately comes to mind, as all 16 playable golfers are available from the start. Though it is nice to have so many players to choose from the beginning, it also takes away those joyous moments when you complete a difficult task and get recognized for your efforts in game. Surely with the amount of characters animated for Golf Adventure, Super Rush could have included a few unlockable ones like Toadette or Koopa that have been featured in past Mario Golf titles. In the same way, while it's awesome that many of the characters dress up in golf attire and whatever the hell Waluigi is wearing, it's strange that not every character gets an outfit. Why are Yoshi, Boo, and Donkey Kong not deserving of the same features the majority of the rest of the cast gets? It's not the biggest issue in the game, but it is an inconsistency that seems like it would have taken very little time to fix that would add to the game's level of polish. Moreover, it would have been an easy way to add more value to Golf Adventure, as it would have given players a much greater incentive to explore and take on challenges if you could unlock different outfits for each Mario character. But speaking of polish, I think Mario Golf Super Rush could have done a much better job in general throughout its courses of displaying the Mario franchise's trademark personality. Admittedly, there are a few stages later on in Balmy Dunes and Bowser's Highlands that get it somewhat right, but largely the courses in Super Rush feel too generic. It feels like a major step backwards from Toadstool Tour and World Tour's vibrant and colorful stages, as even Mario Golf for the N64 had Mario-themed levels based around different characters. Super Rush's lack of themed levels is particularly disappointing, as this is the first Mario Golf title where you can actually explore the courses on foot, which is a bummer because I think it would have been pretty thrilling to have to dodge Koopa shells or sprint underneath falling thwomps on your path to victory. All things considered, Mario Golf Super Rush has left a bad taste in my mouth and makes me wary of future Mario spin-offs rather than hopeful. While the gameplay is solid, albeit simplified, that's the bare minimum of what I require for a Mario sports game. I was looking for Super Rush to do more than what it did, but every time I thought something unique might come, I was let down. Honestly, even Speed Golf is something that, though very different from what it was in the past, did exist in previous Mario Golf games. The same could be said about Golf Adventure, as Mario Golf and Advance Tour for the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance respectively also had an RPG leveling up system in their games. In the end, I would say that if you are on the fence about Mario Golf Super Rush, you should pass unless you are a Mario Golf fanatic. Despite the promise of something new, Super Rush fails to deliver, and even in the areas it does succeed in, the execution leaves a lot to be desired. I love the Mario spin-off games and truly hope that the next one is able to learn from Super Rush's shortcomings to deliver an experience worth celebrating. Until that time, I suppose it's back to Toadstool Tour on the GameCube for me, but please let me know what you think of Mario Golf Super Rush, and until next time, thanks for watching.